Bit of a different video today. So previously I mentioned when I'm doing a lot of my carving, your fingers are in the water a lot and the opal's always wet because you're trying to avoid that silica dust getting in your lungs and killing you over time. So I suggested getting some gloves, some waterproof gloves to be able to handle the opals. So here I've got those big dishwashing gloves. What are they? They're latex gloves, and then here I've got some nitrile gloves. So I've been playing around with them for a while, and I think I've had enough of a go to be able to tell you which way's the way to go. Overall, they're not necessary, I don't think, unless you're going to be doing opal carving for hours a day, and by hours a day I mean like a full-time job, kind of 8 hours a day, because you will get really wrinkly soft fingers and they'll get a bit tingly as you grind away at them slowly with the bits, because they take a little bit of skin off but you just don't notice it. But after doing it for a few hours, you do start to feel it, and you might get sore fingers by the end of the day. But it's just that wrinkly kind of, if you find that a bit uncomfortable or whatever, then the gloves are an option. So I'll just get straight to which one is the best. I highly recommend not going for the dishwasher gloves and going for these nitrile gloves. The main reason being, if I bring back this opal, the one we did a video on the other day, the main reason being, one, the feel is a bit off because these are just so thick. Maybe if you can get thinner ones, you might be okay, but start to get the idea already. So it's next to impossible, and this is with them dry, it gets worse when it's wet, next to impossible to actually pick up a polished opal. I mean, it's really hard. This thing could go shooting out at any moment. And with opal, it shoots out, it hits the floor, and if you've got a cement floor or something, all of a sudden you've managed to shatter what was a really nice opal. Turns out I can zoom in with them on, so that's good. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty polished opal. It actually looks better with a bit less light on it, I think. But I can't grip that at all. I'm trying not to manipulate it too much because it will just go flying. It'll just shoot out wherever. So that's these gloves are pretty rough when it comes to handling any kind of polished opal. The rough is not too bad, but it's not rough forever, is it? So after a while it does start to get to you. Whereas these nitrile gloves, on the other hand, it's actually quite easy and quite comfortable. If anything, I would say that you can possibly get a better grip with some of these nitrile gloves. When it's a dry opal and your hands and gloves are dry, it's kind of a bit whatever. But if it's wet, it actually does feel like we'll just pour it on the table, whatever, I'll mop it up. It actually does feel like you get possibly a better grip. The other benefit of wearing gloves is that especially if they're black, you get that black backing kind of effect on some of your opals. But I mean, that's purely a cosmetic thing. Makes your black opal look really, really dark, but yeah, we don't really care about that so much. It's more the handling side of things. So if you are going to go for gloves, you are having issues with your hands being in the water all the time, getting wrinkly and all that kind of thing, then I would suggest going for the nitrile gloves. If you're not worried about it, I'd suggest just don't bother getting it. In terms of price, I mean, these are meant to be reusable and everything, but over time they get a bit sweaty and whatnot on the inside. And these are, well, disposable, so you'd only use them once, but I've had no problem in using these multiple times. And in terms of cost, that's what you're looking at. But that's for a pack of 100 nitriles. So you're looking at 13, 14 bucks Australian for 100 of those. Even if you only use them once, that's 100 uses, not so bad. And these are $4.40, and I don't know how many times you'll be able to reuse them. I've decided just not to use them because for our purposes, once you've got a polished opal, you kind of want to, that's when you want to be really careful and have a good grip on it and everything. But as it is, I'd say scrap the dishwashing gloves, go with nitriles if you really have to. Otherwise, just rock on with your bare fingers. If it doesn't worry you, then don't worry about it. Just a quick video on that, just in case anyone was wondering about which way to go. I've already done a bit of the testing for you, and yeah, 100% black nitrile, scrap the dishwashing gloves. It was an idea I had just because they're more reusable, but I don't know, the price doesn't really break the bank when you're spending 13 bucks on 100 gloves. If you really need to, use them twice and that's 200 uses. So yeah, that's all